Hey, what's up, everybody? Dan Tortora hanging out with you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora's extension, which is Reiss's Pieces, and that is with Miss Tammi Reiss. And Tammi Reiss coming to us from her time at Syracuse, where she was an assistant coach for the women's basketball program, and now is going into her third season for the women's basketball program at Rhode Island as their head coach. And very excited, as always, to have Miss Tammi here on the broadcast where sports truly meets that thing called life. So definitely excited to have Tammi here with us. Like I said, an extension of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is Reiss's Pieces, and it's a play on words off of Tammy's name, of course. And here on Reiss's Pieces, we talk about a little bit of everything. We discuss so many different things from in and out of the sports world, and I'm always excited to be able to share this time with Tammi. So we're looking forward to having her join us here in a second, as I am on the road and doing my thing, and Tammi obviously doing hers as well. So we'll be having Tammi on today for a really cool and exciting conversation. It's our fourth official episode of Reiss's Pieces, and like I said, it's an extension of Wake Up Call. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora airs every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. And outside of that, we have Reiss's Pieces, which airs every other Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So right after Wake Up Call goes live, Reiss's Pieces every other Monday is there, and that is at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So you'll hear it this week, of course, and then, we'll be off for a week and then back on. So getting Reiss's Pieces as Tammi is getting ready to join us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So let's bring her in here, the extension to Reiss's Pieces of Wake Up Call. So there she is. What's up, Miss Tammi?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not too much. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm on the road living the life of a coach, I guess. I mean, I feel like we equal each other in a lot of ways, and the fact that I can't sit still for 5 minutes is one of them.
And I see you got your road dog with you, literally.
I do. I got my road dog here. Where's she at? There she is. So, yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, Lily's hanging out with me on the road. She's gonna drive half the way. We'll see how we do.
Nice, good. Well, you caught me in between my workout, so I got my weight vest on. This isn't a what you call it?
Like a bulletproof Kevlar?
No, it's just I'm trying to get in shape, so I put my weight vest on for my workout today. And as soon as we're done, I'm going to get back to it.
Well, what I like is we talk about road dogs. We talk about being on the road and action, and then the action part of you looking like you have a Kevlar suit on. Perfect to talk about movies today.
Yes. And although action is probably my least favorite genre.
Okay.
Putting them in order, actually. Probably my least favorite, although I love movies, period. I love movies more than I love music, if you can believe that. Again, I love acting, so it's my thing. And so I'm excited to talk to you today about them.
Yeah, and like I said before to everybody that tuned in a few minutes ago, Reiss's Pieces is an extension of Wake Up Call where sports meets life, giving me an opportunity to really talk about anything and involve myself with incredible people in the community. So I thank God for being able to do what I love and love what I do. And I thank God for people like Miss Tammi Reiss, who's here with us every other Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, right after Wake Up Call, for an extension of Wake Up Call called Reiss's Pieces. I took a lot of notes, and I was laying in bed last night. It was the last thing I did. I want to show you the notebook I use, though, because I'm a big old fan. So.
Oh my God. That is, now when you show him, that'll lead us into kind of our action movies. When we talk about action movies, because he's a spinoff of, one of my favorite trilogies of all time.
And
so,
what were you going to say?
I love me some Grogu. I have the little action figure that does the cooing and everything. He was our good luck charm this year for our team. So, I feel you.
Yeah, I got my BB-8, and I actually want to dress up Lily like BB-8 for Halloween. But but I seriously, when I was looking at action, what I realized, and I'm happy that you said that, when you said that'll lead us into action and talking about the trilogy and obviously Star Wars, because I was having this conversation last night and people were saying, you can't include Marvel, you can't include Star Wars because like it's action, but it's in its own genre. And I was like, no, like it's if it's action, it's in there and it has to be. So I have like a list of top 5 that's like traditional action, but then I'll have like another top 5. Basically what I'm telling you is it was hard to not name 47 movies last night.
Exactly, for every genre. So I kind of did my own thing, kind of category wise.
Yeah.
Like you, same thing. I action with a whole like Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever you want to say, sci-fi action.
Yeah.
The whole trilogy to me, you need it. It's not just one or the other. So I kind of included a clump of, because for me it was one movie, but they broke it up into 3 parts.
Right.
Some movies. So I kind of did my own thing too.
Okay, fair enough. So we're going to start things off. We'll start with action. So I made a traditional action list, and then I will ad lib because, as I said last night when I was on the phone in the conversation, I was like, but you don't understand me and my definition of action. And I feel that Tammi and I are connected at the brain. So the fact that you and I were thinking the same way makes me super happy, because it was hard for me to do this list. But if I did this list the way that I think of what action is, with sci-fi included, it's the easiest list in the world to make. So I want your number 5, top 5 action. We'll go from 5 to the best.
Because I didn't put Marvel, or I didn't put them in their own genre, I just included my favorite kind of superhero movies within it.
Yeah.
So for me, most recently, I fell in love with this movie. And for me, it's Avengers Endgame. Is my number 5. It just brought so many pieces together, and I love the storyline. I love the characters. So for me, I loved Endgame. Absolutely loved it.
I'm going to do my Marvel Star Wars one, like I said, separately, because I try to go traditional as best I could, which was hard. But my number 5 in the traditional way is The Matrix. And I believe with like Bitcoin and all this garbage out there right now, it's like I feel like we're living in this numbers, digital, crazy social media world. So The Matrix, I think, is more real than it's ever been.
I agree with you. And again, it was such a cool concept at the time. Just the concept of loan was mind blowing. Again, at the time the movie was made.
Yeah.
And it just was such a great movie with, again, great acting. Although Keanu Reeves, if he could be any more monotone, that's my problem with Keanu, even though I love him.
Yeah.
And he was so good for the role. And but really good. Great choice. I love that. Love it.
Yeah, so I got to go with The Matrix. What's your number 4?
Got to go with my Black Panther. I absolutely fell in love with this movie. And again, character driven, the storyline, the acting, and it was a cultural phenomenon at the time too.
Yeah.
No movie at the time, action hero, was ever African American, Black, and it was awesome to see that a studio would back that. And it took off the way it did. And for me, there was so many underlying issues to that movie that was so relevant at the time. And so for me, it was very poignant. And that's why it's my number 4.
I will, like I said, defer to that list that's outside of my traditional. But I also believe that action movies should be movies where you can shut your brain off and just do what it says, is watch the action. And in the case of shutting my brain off and just loving it like a child, this one snuck in here, Transformers. Now, the Transformers trilogy with Shia LaBeouf, not the ones with Mark Wahlberg, because I love me some Wahlberg, but, Mark Wahlberg's this big, like, juiced up dude, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he could punch a robot in the face. Like, Shia LaBeouf screaming like a little girl, like, the way he would, you know what I mean? Like, I loved that as a kid, like growing up, and I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was cool with Transformers and robots and stuff. I had seeing him in that movie. And then, obviously Megan Fox, beautiful. Like watching that movie at the time I did, I was like, want that to be my girlfriend. I want Bumblebee to be my car. So I still want a Chevy Camaro only because of Transformers. So Yeah, I have to say Transformers, but I'm going to include the original trilogy as my number 4. And my favorite one, which typically goes against everything in the grain because the third movie in a series is usually not carried well. My favorite Transformers is Dark of the Moon, which is the third one.
Yeah. As we'll talk later, as Scream said, we'll fight about, is the second one the best, the first one? There's very few movies that you can pick. The Godfather, you can pick the second one that's just as good as the first. And I agree with you. I think the trilogy of Transformers, and I too am a huge Warburg fan. Donnie and Mark, and God bless their mother, Alma, passed this week, and blessings out to them. But Shia LaBeouf and those first Transformers, they were classic, so well done. And again, they had something, everything for you, for the guy, the cars, the babes, and just the nerd getting the girl and the badass car. So I agree with you. I love Transformers. They didn't make my list, but again, they're probably in my top 10.
Yeah.
As a female, I love them.
Yeah, if I could put myself in any one of those movies, I would have jumped in that car, jumped in that like exact first Transformers when it came out. And I like the new Bumblebee too. I actually like the new one. So your number 3. See, that's the thing. When I did my top 5, I'm realizing I can't pick like one. Like sometimes I picked one, but if it was a trilogy or a couple, I had to go with all of them. What is your number 3?
Okay, so number 3, I could pick the trilogy, and there's a lot of them. There's maybe 5 or 6, 7. They go on and on, right? However, growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, there was this movie that I'll never forget. I'm in the drive-in. It's 70, maybe 76, 77. And there's a scene where they're up in space and they're eating, and all of a sudden the guy falls on the table, and out from his stomach pops this little alien creature, and it was like, oh my God. And thus started Alien. Now, I like the second one, Aliens, better than the first one. So not taking the trilogy and the million different aliens that have been created, for me, that second one, probably in 86, with Sigourney Weaver, who just was a badass action female star. So for me, we're fighting aliens and we're women in space, and she embodied it. She's tall and she was ass. And so when she's in that robot fighting that mother alien, for me, Aliens made my number 3.
I know we're going to talk about horror, so that's why I didn't touch it in this one. So my number 3 is and I got reminded of this last night because I forgot about these movies. Mine is the Bourne series with Matt Damon. Now, I am not as big of a 007 fan, so the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy, all that good stuff, that all stuck with me. The Bourne Identity, I would have to say, is the best, and because it started everything. But the thought that, you could be utilized by like that whole storyline of the government creates you and uses you to their advantage, and then when you go against it or morally don't want to follow it, they want to shut you down. So they use you as a weapon, but then they can't have that weapon pointed toward themselves, and they can't let you have a normal life. That whole like tug of war of, I was made to do this, but I know that this is wrong, and when you find out things aren't right, are you still going to follow it? I love the story of somebody who has the weapons to defeat anything, including that which created them when they know that it's wrong. So for so many reasons underlying, just like Black Panther is, I choose the Bourne saga, but I'll say the Bourne Identity.
And, I loved all those. For me, if I was choosing between Bourne, me growing up, Die Hard and Die Hard 2 with Bruce Willis, I would probably have put him before Bourne, just because I was the comedy and everything he embodied. But true action, Jason, he was a bad, So I like that. I like that choice a lot. Now, my number 2, it could be sci-fi fantasy or it could be action. It really is up to you, but I put it in action. And I mean, I can remember sitting in the theater and thinking, I need the story to continue, because I can't wait another year to watch it, because it started right where the other one left off. And you're like, and I'm like, oh my God, 2.5 hours went past. I need it now. And so for me, the trilogy of this and the fantasy, the action, the love story, the fighting, the characters, it was incredible. So Peter Jackson, kudos. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, for me, even as a female, I loved it. And so it makes my number 2. And I do not have a favorite. I really don't. I love them all as one movie.
I love that you say that, because there was a conversation about that last night, and I know you're going to make one of the biggest Lord of the Rings fans so happy right now based on my movie conversation. So, they were really good, and I saw them in the theaters, and I own them, but I've never watched them since I've owned them. And so I kind of want to break them out now that you're the second person to very passionately talk to me about them. My number 2, because I got to stay true to part of my heritage, and I'm proud of all of my heritage, one of them being Italian. I have to say this, that for me, The Godfather, my Marlon Brando, it's part of my things that I do, my impressions that I do. You gotta pretend like that cotton's in your mouth. You gotta push your lip out. I love, the thought of, and the horse head in the bed. And I tell people all the time, if somebody kisses your one cheek and kisses the other and asks how your family's doing, don't walk outside by yourself. Don't get in the car. Always look in the back seat. So, there's just something incredible about, you know what I mean? There's just something about that. So I got to put The Godfather in here. I got to be honest, I haven't seen the third one, but I got to put The Godfather as number 2.
See, I classify that for me as drama.
Okay.
So, true drama, not like Godfather, Scarface, Goodfellas, that for me, those 3 are my favorite when we talk mob movies of all time, and Godfather 2. But for me, I take it out of the action, because, gunfights and that's not that much for me, especially that kind of action. Yeah. That's not like, you're not flying. There's no special effects. So true action. Even Jason Bourne does more than that. Like, they just pull out a gun or slice a neck or do something like that. So for me, I categorize that as drama, or else they would be in here. For me, because again, huge part of me as well. I love mobster and gangster movies. Love it. Good choice. Great choice.
Number 1 for action.
I grew up on it. It was my first, 70s, and one of my first movies that was so creative. Again, in the 70s, I was born where this didn't happen. You didn't see things like this in the movies. And so when R2-D2 and C-3PO and Chewbacca and the Ewok, and you're walking the bar scene and you're looking at all these characters and you're going, oh my God, who does this? Who thought of this? Yeah. First of all, and as little kids, I owned every action figure in the box. I had the Millennium Falcon. I had the sabers growing up. So for me, Star Wars trilogy, the first 3 especially, were very close to my heart, because when they were created, it was innovative and it was the first of anything. Even Star Trek couldn't even touch this. And you got it all. You got characters, you got the love story between Han Solo and Leia. You had everything, the dark side, good versus evil. And so for me, it had to be, because it really made me fall in love with movies and want to be an actress, was the Star Wars trilogy.
We have to do another episode of Reese's Pieces where we focus on sci-fi and we focus on Marvel, because again, you and I have the same brain. I love a million things about our friendship, this being one of them very much so, because last night I was sitting here driving myself nuts because I was like, I thought it counted But when I was having the conversation, it's like, no, that doesn't count. It's got to be traditional. You got to think about it. And I'm like, yeah, but to me, this is action. Action is action. So I would put all this stuff in there, but traditionally, I put The Departed as my number one, because that's a movie that I know what happens. I know the twist, and I still will watch it 100 times. I mean, how do you get a better cast than, there's the monster. How do you get a better cast than Matt Damon, than Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson? I mean, it just pops off the screen. It's insane. It's like having an Avengers movie, but as a mob movie.
Yes.
I gotta say that, just like the Avengers take the cake when they're in the box office and they're all together, I gotta give it up to The Departed as being a movie that still to this day, I am undeniably pissed off at the elevator scene and incredibly mad at how it ends. And if I have to choose between Leonardo DiCaprio or Matt Damon, this movie helped me realize I always choose Leo.
Yes, always, no matter what. Great, unbelievable movie. Again, we just need Alone. That's a subcategory. That's, for me, that's drama, action.
Yeah.
And it's true drama. I could do a full 10, top 10, again, gangster movie Alone. And all of them are Oscar worthy, with some of the best cast ever assembled. So one of my favorite, again, I'd say top 5 for me, gangster movies where, you got the mob, you got the great cast, one of the best ever assembled. Good list.
Thank you. You too. You actually, because you stayed true to what I believe in, and I love that. We got some things from Andre said The Count of Monte Cristo and The Usual Suspects. Andre also said Braveheart and Bronx Tale. Now, I'm going to give my list that if I chose a Marvel action list, this is my list. One of the most difficult lists to do in the world, mind you, but I did this in the moment as we're talking because I cannot wait to have my phone conversation continue where I'm like, you know what? I said it last night. Tammi said it today. Tammi and I have one brain. I trust her and I trust her decision making. So this is the list that I should have put out, but here is my list, and it's extremely hard to choose a top 5, but here I go. Number 5, I'm going to say Avengers Endgame, like you said. Love the cast coming together. I am Iron Man. Snap that finger, make it happen. I got to say Avengers Endgame. Number 4, I'm going to say Captain America Winter Soldier, because that could have hung up as a spy movie, a 007 movie, a traditional action movie if you knew nothing about anything, a government movie, a war movie. Perfect. Number 3, Black Panther, one of the greatest characters to ever come on screen. I became a fan a couple of years before the movie came out. Never knew if the movie was actually going to come out because they kept pushing it. Chadwick Boseman, so good in so many things. One of my favorite movies he ever did was Draft Day. And him as the Black Panther, he will always be. My theory, and I said this a long time ago, so you can't say, don't at me and say that this was said before, whatever. I said a long time ago after he passed, unfortunately, and God bless him in heaven, one of the youngest, most awesome, coolest souls that I would have loved to meet, and I look forward to meeting someday in heaven. With him being gone, I believe the story will be that they will resurrect Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan's character. He will be there in the second movie, and then Shuri, his sister, will take over after that. That is my belief. Yes. And she is incredible, smarter than Tony Stark and Bruce Banner put together when they were like, oh, well, why didn't you do this with Vision and try this? And Bruce is like, because we didn't think of it. Yeah. Incredible. So Black Panther's number 3, and only because my top 2 Marvel action of all time have to be my top 2 characters. One is everything I embodied growing up. With great power comes great responsibility. I live that with what I do every day. And the other one is this goatee I rock. Tony Stark in the original Iron Man is my number 2. And the greatest, and I was in a Spider-Man movie, and I actually got to be on set and got to be on screen as an extra in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made, thanks to the terrifying normal voice of Willem Dafoe, was the original Spider-Man with Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe versus Tobey Maguire, and James Franco as his friend and like brother that ends up becoming the Hobgoblin. everything about that. Aunt May, the upside down Spider-Man kiss. There is nothing better than the original Spider-Man.
Good. Again, I love your choices. The only, for me, Spider-Man, the only Batman for me, the original one with Michael Keaton, growing up with Jack Nicholson,
Yeah.
Kim Basinger at the time, and the original I'm Batman, Michael Keaton. With the lighthearted comedy, they went really action after that.
Yeah.
But again, at the time, I was in college. I think it was my sophomore year in college, and just loved me some Michael Keaton. So the only one I would two I would put in, other than Captain America. I'm not a big Captain America fan. I don't know why. I can't love the guy. I love Iron Man. He'd be in Avengers, Black Panther. Although I love that Spider-Man might be tied down, I would put Wonder Woman in as number 3 for me because, again, I grew up with the original Linda Carter in the 70s. Bionic Woman and Wonder Woman were all us women had. We didn't have much back then. Those were our superheroes.
Yeah.
And to see Wonder Woman recreated, and Gal is just, she's fantastic as her. I loved Wonder Woman, so she'd sneak in, and I'd probably at my number 1 would have I'm Batman and the original Michael Keaton as my Batman.
Well, that's why I'm happy this was a Marvel list, because if it was a DC list, Wonder Woman would definitely be up there with Gal Gadot, because she is one of the only things that they've done right at Warner Brothers is cast her
Yes.
and let her play her role, because to me she is Wonder Woman and Linda Carter is too. So I'm gonna go to horror next, because the romantic comedy, I had to stop myself from having like 37 on this list.
Oh, you could go on and on. It's really a preference of, the chemistry and what speaks to you. Really, with rom-coms, it's really, really difficult. But let's go horror. I could go 100 deep. I'm not kidding you. From the originals like Frankenstein, Bela Lugosi. I've watched everything. The slashers of the 70s, which are really difficult to watch because some of those are raw.
Yeah.
You could do things that you can't do nowadays. You'd get an X rating. And so for me, this list was, oh my God, it was so difficult. Shout out to the guy, first of all, who said Bronx Tale. One of my favorite lines ever. If you have a son and you're dating a girl and you open the door for her and he says,
I just said this.
She's a keeper if she reaches across and pops that. Well, nowadays, you squeak it. But back in the day, you had to go all the way across the seat and unlock that Jimmy for your boyfriend. If she does that, she's a keeper. And and so that's one of my favorite lines. And when she pops that lock for him, he's like, yes. Again, such a great movie. So that would be in my top 10 as well, as one of my favorite kind of, gangster mafia movies. Loved it. So shout out to him. What a great choice.
And it's so crazy that as soon as you said A Bronx Tale, like as soon as you said I gotta say this line, that is the exact. And again, I just had that conversation of, you're with a good woman, you got the right one when you open the door for her and you walk around the car and she pops the door open for you. That's a keeper. Like, because that is such a rarity. It is such a rarity to see anybody open a door and anybody pop the other one. So, like, again, we're built from the same brain, Tim.
Yeah.
So that's what, in this crazy world that we live in today, the more you and I do Reese's Pieces, the more I feel like I can sleep better, knowing that there's at least somebody that's as sane as me or as crazy as me, however people want to define it. At least we're similar.
You know what we got to do one time, Dan? I play this game all the time with movie buffs. Is we say a line from a movie and you got to guess the movie.
Yeah.
And and obviously we pick good lines, like, you'll know pretty much, but any good movie buff knows the best lines, top 3 lines in a movie, that when you say it, I need a bigger boat, you know what I'm talking about, And so things like, we should play that game one time where we'll get, like, I'll get 20, 10 or 15, you get 10 or 15, and we got to guess. Watch, we pick the same lines in the same movie.
Yeah, I know. Welcome to Earth is one that comes to me all the time. So, top 5 horror. I'm gonna preface you with this. Okay, people that know me know that horror movies are. I gotta get some courage. I'm not talking liquid courage. I'm not a drinker, but I gotta get that Curious George. You better hit me at the. It's like Chinese food. It's not that I don't like it, but I have to be in the mood for it. So, my list is going to be so tame to your list because I don't watch exorcism movies. I don't watch Exorcist. It freak me out. I don't like Freddy Krueger. So there's a lot of stuff that I stayed away from that I just want to preface and disclaimer to people. I am not your horror movie buff. Tammi is. So don't get mad at me that mine are like, the poppy version. I don't want to say the pop version, but a lot of them are more recent. And a lot of them are stuff that like just really mess with your head. So like my horror flicks are where they are for a reason, and it's because I typically am not in the right mindset to watch one. So with that being said, Tammy's are going to be like, I can't sleep at night. Mine are going to be like, oh, okay. So what's your number 5?
All right, I got a couple ties with number 5. And my honorable mentions, look, Scream, Saws, Poltergeist, like there's so many. But these top 5 for me they really, at a time in my life, hit home for whatever I was doing, and they scared me to death.
Okay.
And really affected my childhood, where one of them affected me so much, I snuck into my parents' room every day for a year, that I would dream about this person every day. And bad mother, she let me watch all these movies when I'm like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. She exposed me to a lot. So Mom, this is kudos to my mother for letting me watch all these movies and really introducing me to horror and scaring me and my friends to death when we had sleepovers. She was bad. She's the horror junkie.
Right.
So my number 5 is a 3-way tie. Number 1 introduced me. I went to camp out in the woods, on lakes. I lived on lakes with camps, and I'm young. I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And is Friday the 13th. And here came Jason. And I went away to sleepaway camps, and the stories and the counselors scaring us freaked me out. So Friday the 13th ties with another icon, which is Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street. Same thing. Introduced us again. Even when you dreamt, it was almost your dreams could become real. And when you're young, that plays on your mind. Yeah. That someone could attack you in your dreams. And when you're young, you don't know any different. And then the last one was The Shining with Jack Nicholson. That's a 3-way tie with, I couldn't choose one because when they all come on, I still watch them from front to back. When I'm flipping through movies and one of them's on, they stay on. And so I have a 3-way tie.
I'm going to make my 3-way tie number 5, the Alien series. I, as a child, had 2 childhood fears above all others: ghosts and and I was mortified at the fact that the alien not only replicates itself, but the process, like, who in their right mind comes up with this thing that suctions to your face, goes down your throat, makes a baby, and then bursts out of your stomach, so like, for the life of me, I won't see the new ones because the technology's caught up and I can't. I saw Prometheus, and that just screwed with my brain. Just like sitting in the chair, and like they're in the chair, and the thing is like fighting, like the alien is advancing itself, and it's evolving, and it's fighting with a thing, and the thing, I can't even think about how it's coming out and it's like guys shaking, and it's pulling out of them, and I can go back and watch the first Alien and find some peace. and the fact that there's two scenes that let you know technology wasn't there then. And one of them is when the aliens chasing him like down the hallway. I always say that he's on one of those like rolly things from school that they bring the skeleton in. So they push him and it's like, and you can almost hear the wheels. So that part, and then when the alien used to pop out of the stomach, it could only turn back and forth as a puppet. It could only do the So my mom and my dad saw that movie when they were growing up on a date, and they ran out of the movie theater because of how much it freaked them out. So it's a movie that scared my entire family, but I'll put Alien at number 5, and I'm going to put another one here as a tie. And the reason why this movie tied is because as a child, I was terrified of the commercial for this movie. Every time it came out, remember when TV Guide, when they used to have like the preview thing and you could see everything that was like coming on TV, but then there was like that preview screen, the mini one. They would always play this movie. I would jump behind one of my parents on the couch, get behind them, put my fingers in my ears, say la, 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 really loud, and stick my feet in the couch. And literally I had to hide physically and I had to not hear it. And I couldn't see it. And that was the preview for Child's Play. I am mortified by those stupid movies. And I didn't watch them my whole life until I was 18 years old. And when I realized, Tammy, and this is something you should know, you got a good partner, God bless you. Hopefully I will, and God bless that. But I'm going to tell you how I knew that that 3 of the women I dated were terrible partners for me. Each of them forced me to watch a scary movie against my will. And so I've realized that if a woman forces me to watch a scary movie, especially one that I know I don't like, that she will never be my wife, ever. So I was 18, 19, the girl I was dating, she pushed me to watch multiple ones. The Grudge, I can't think about that. I can forgive, but I better, like, that woman needs, like, if I see the eye, I can't. So, and she did some messed up stuff. She had long black hair. She used to play games, but that makes me want to throw up. But Child's Play, she forces me to watch it. We watch 1 and 2. I go to sleep that exact night, to go off of your story. I'm a grown man. I'm in college. I go to bed with my head toward the bathroom door. I have a dream that night about Chucky. He brings me up a long white staircase to an apartment. He proceeds to go into this apartment that's all pristine white. He kills the mother, the father, the son, and the daughter in front of me, doesn't kill me, comes to the kitchen, gets up on the stool with the bloody knife, and he's swinging the knife in front of me, telling me each and every step and how easy it was to kill each of them after I watched him do it. And I woke up in the middle of the night at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I looked over, because I was sleeping in a different part where she was, so I looked over where she was, and I looked in the bathroom. I shut the bathroom door. I looked at her and I go, this girl messing up. Like, she is messing up. Like this, like, I told you why. And I wanted to wake her up and be like, I told you why I don't watch this crap. That dream, I had that dream, how long ago? 17 years ago, Tammy. And I remember it specifically as clearly as I just told it to you. So Child's Play, I knew as a kid would scare me. I knew I should never watch it. And when I watched it 14 years after I knew that, it scared me. I dreamt about it, and I was 100% right when I didn't want to be. So Alien and Child's Play, for the same reason of that's why they're my number 5. What's your number 4?
Well, first of all, it's got to be give and take. So with Crystal, I make her watch horror movies. Number 1, and she has she hates them. But then in return, I have to watch Disney movies. So look, it's a give and take. If I got to sit through Princess and the Frog, then she got to sit through my stuff, and we give and take. That's how you do it. So, you got to suck it up, and you got to give a little bit. All right.
I love watching.
Just close your eyes and do the la la la.
I love the thought of you watching Frozen, and then you look at it, Crystal, going, okay, so I had to sit in to Let It Go. So now we're going to sit here and watch Freddy Krueger. Like, I mean, the thought that there's a juxtaposition in your house that at 8 o'clock you're watching Frozen, and at 10 o'clock you're watching, some like slasher, like The Grudge. I can't even. And you got to watch yours last. You got to watch yours last because if Crystal's going to watch it, you got to make her. She can't watch that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She better be watching that with you
late
at 10
at
o'clock at night.
Yes. for sure. But everyone I think a lot of people, I hate dolls. They're scary. They're creepy. Especially the certain ones, like they're just
All of
creepy to
them.
me. And clowns. I have never liked it. It was the original Stephen King scared me to death when I read the book and watched the made miniseries for TV was scary back in the day. So clowns and dolls, I don't mess with. I just don't like them. So good choice. Chucky is always a good. The first one was very good. After that, they started to get a little bit just dumb and funny, and it diluted it, kind of like Freddy. They kind of diluted Freddy a little bit. Too many jokes. This my number 4. Now this one, 1974. My dad actually saw it in the theater. Everyone left throwing up, and they ran out. It was unedited. It was based on a true story. And then, of course, my parents let me see it. You know, I'm like 7 or 8 later on in life. But the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not to be played with. It is disgusting. It is brutal. It is disturbing. The final dinner scene with the father, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it is a disturbing movie. And as a kid, it freaked me out that there could be families like this that would get a hold of people and, you know, turn them into their barbecue in their gas station down in Texas. And so I feared it to death, that there are these crazy people out, and it's people. This isn't like aliens and doll. These are crazy people that existed in the world that they actually did this to people. And it was a very hard movie to sit through and watch. So if you ever want to see a disturbing movie, go rent the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974, and they'll give it. You'll get it. You'll get it.
I can tell you that when they remade it, and they have the scene at the end where, like, in the credits, they have the actual footage of going into the house, and the guy gets like his head in one of the cops that gets hit in the back of the head. I can't do. So number 1, I'm not doing scary movies if I have a choice. Number 2, I'm not doing scary movies based on true stories. Like, I can't. The Strangers, that movie with the 3 people with the masks, and what is the thing with why do you have to look like a clown? Why do you have to wear a bunny? Like, why do you have to take things from my childhood that were so good and you realize too from Freddie, I can't go to church on Christmas Eve and listen to them sing Noel because it's in the movie. Like, I can't, like, little kids, you know, and it's like, I just want, I'm like, what, why are there kids singing this song right now?
Yeah.
Because it takes the most innocent part of us and it attacks it. It's like when you attack somebody in bed in a movie or in a bathtub, there's nowhere to go. So it's like they know how to get to you. They know how to make me want to throw up. And so going off of what you said, when they, like, the Texas Chainsaw stuff, the Strangers, I will never forget this line. I will never, ever forget this line. I hope I forget this line, but I will never forget this line. When the three strangers are at this cabin, and they're just looking at them in total silence, saying nothing to the people on the couch who are on their freaking honeymoon. And the girl's like shuddering, and she goes, "Why are you doing this to us?" And he says, "Because you were home." And I'm like, oh my God. So that movie's gotta, like, that movie makes it in here, maybe a tie for this one. But my number 4, my mom will tell you, your boy don't like clowns. Your boy don't like ventriloquist dummies. I don't like anything that looks like a human being that's not a human being. Number 4 has got to be, because it's one of the only ones I can watch, and I bought it. Like, there's something wrong with me because I'm like, I actually got into this movie enough to buy it, is I now own the newer version of it. And I can, because I don't know what it is about, not chapter 2, but the newer version of it, the first one. I can watch it repeatedly, and I don't know why, because I don't like clowns. But I brought my cousin Joey, who's like my older brother, and Papa Joe calls him Meatball number 1, and I'm Meatball number 2. And Joey and I go and see this movie after I'd already seen it. We go to the theaters, and he jumps up in the scene where the lights go off in the garage and it comes back on and it comes through the screen and he's huge. He jumped up in the air. He's older than me. Jumped up in the air and punched me square in my left arm. Why did you bring me to this movie? And I looked at him and I said 2 words. You drove. So I didn't bring you nowhere. but it has to be my number 4 because it's vile. It's crazy. The second one lost a lot of stuff. The second one had the opening scene was just so unnecessary and so gross and just spoke to a lot of things that didn't need to happen, and they had nothing to do with the movie. I felt like it attacked a kid who was already attacked, and I didn't like seeing that, and that just made me, it was like a hate crime, and then it eats the person after the hate crime. So that was disturbing in and of itself that somebody would even write that, because I thought it was too much. But it's got to make it for me. And the original one I could get through, because when he goes, "Kiss me, fat boy," that made me laugh, and it helped me get through it. The new version, no laughter. Nothing helped me get through it. No. Just a whole lot of disturbing moments, and the music and how they like blare it, and the balloons, and I can actually do it. I can do it, the impression of him, and it makes my skin crawl when I physically do it, knowing that I'm doing it. So that's how I know this movie makes my top 5, because even when I do the impression, I'm terrified of the clown, and I'm not the clown. So.
Again, Stephen King, we can do our own. Christine, I mean, he's got classic movies that carry, like, you can go on and on. His books are amazing. He's my favorite horror author. And it was anything with a group of kids. First of all, I love, whether it be Sandlot, whether it be Goonies, whether it be anything with kids spending a time together and fighting something or coming of age. I absolutely love Stranger Things. It's classic. And so that's what made it so good for me, was the kids in it, fighting evil and their experience together. And boy, I agree with you. It didn't make my top, only because, again, for me, horror, like, it goes a whole nother level. And I was older when I saw it. So you got to really come hard with me to really be scary. You know, I'm a whole nother level horror. But it was great movie. Fantastic. It would be probably in my top 10 because I loved it. With Scream, it'd be right there. Number 3 for me, 1978, one of my favorite holidays. Other than, look, you see what's on that right there? I have every mug of Christmas movies as well. They're my favorite. But this movie, because I love this, I was so into it. 1978, one of my Scream Queen, the greatest for me, is Jamie Lee Curtis. And this movie put her on the map to go on to do great horror movies besides Halloween. But the original Halloween and Michael Myers, when I'm 8 years old and I'm going out and trick-or-treating, and from this day, I play it. It's on every Halloween night, the music, everything. When the kids come to the door, we're decked out, scaring them. For me, it was such a great movie at the time. There's no action. There's no trickery. It's one man. Half the time, you don't even see him. But how John Carpenter shot this was amazing. How he came through the mask, and and on a budget of next to nothing. Yeah. I mean, he shot this classic with no money. Yeah. And so from a person who appreciates filmmaking, it is incredible that to this day, it still plays as unbelievable. And everyone this Halloween, who was the most worn last year and this year? Michael Myers. The mask, the costume, everything has kind of gone 180 full circle. And the new generation has now, oh my God, Michael Myers, the new Jamie Lee Curtis. How old is she now? Putting out Halloween Kills this summer, or this coming up Halloween. We got the new one coming out. And so again, for me, there's a whole bunch of Halloweens, but that first one, when I'm 8 years old, it scared the living hell out of me. Even at home with a babysitter. As soon as the babysitter came over, bad stuff happens. That's when everything goes wrong. I'd be like, you need to leave because something bad's going to happen. So for me, number 3, Halloween.
Here's some trivia for you, my horror movie buff. The mask that Michael Myers wears is a cast of what actor's face?
Hold on. Not a wrestler.
Very well-known actor.
Really?
Very, very well-known. Incredibly well-known.
Not Charlton Heston. Go ahead, give it to
William Shatner.
me. Really? I see that now. The hair, everything. I see it
Yeah.
now.
William Shatner. They used his face, which is insane. It's nuts. And I had that music. I love that music. That music.
Unbelievable.
Like, even when you don't like horror, like if you have like top 10 ringtones of all time, that's a ringtone. Like that, so good. And I knew you, being a purist of this, were gonna put these in there. And these are ones on my mind too. My number 3 is a more recent movie. And I love this duo. They're husband and wife in real life. And they're finally coming out with the second one, which was supposed to come out at the beginning of 2020. And I just saw the new preview for it. And I love it because it's suspense, it's a thriller, it's horror, but it's by itself. There's no other movie like it because you have to remain completely silent. And the way they shot the movie, we hear nothing sometimes. And sometimes we hear through the ear of the deaf daughter. And we don't know what's going on. And when something turns on, we know, like most of the movie is made in silence. It's like watching a silent film from back in the day, but now it's on purpose. And to turn on like that little space shuttle and then to not hear it, like we hear it, but we don't hear it, it's got to be because it gets me amped up. And I told you, aliens freak me out. And you just talked about how you shoot a movie without even having to show the villain that much. A Quiet Place has to be on my list.
Great. You know, John actually wrote it. Emily wasn't even supposed to star in it. He was like, hey, hon, I think this would be great for you. And obviously Emily Blunt, you know, stars in it. And she's one of my favorite. I mean, I love her to death. And such a good movie. Again, how he incorporated the sound and it was an incredible movie. Really, yes, this one's coming out. It's supposed to be this summer. And again, I think it might be on HBO Max or one of those where it comes out simultaneously in the theaters because we may not have movies again this summer. So good choice. Great movie. Loved it. Acted, directed, everything. Good job. I like that.
And it all started with a man that used to look at a camera inside of an office in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yes. My number 2. This guy, it was his first movie. Picture this. It's just before the summer of 1975. We've been, you know, normally all the horror movies at this time are ghosts, exorcisms, possession, killers. A lot of just crazy people killing people. Graphic B movies, if you will, especially slasher films in the 70s. That's what they were. This was the first movie that, okay, we're not safe on land, and now we're not safe on sea. And so we're like, okay, we're going. And the way they did the movie, again, you don't see it. You hear the music. Dun, 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 dun. And then suddenly you go to the theater, and I'm freaking 5 years old. I think I saw it that summer with my babysitter, took me with her boyfriend.
We got to get a new babysitter in your path.
It was actually my Aunt Penny, who was my babysitter. And she took me, and I was terrified to go in the water. And we live in New York, New Jersey, the beaches. It became a phenomenon. And again, the way Spielberg shot this, it was incredible. You hardly even saw the shark. There wasn't that much gore, but the mind play of back in you never saw anything like this. I think the closest thing we got was an octopus with Shelley Winters. It was a dumb movie about an octopus. And then there was Orca. There was a movie about a killer whale as well. But this movie, it traumatized people. They stopped going in the ocean, and it put him on the map. So for me, and when it comes on, and it's played a lot on TBS and TNT, Shark Week to this day, is Jaws. The original Jaws for me was very traumatizing as a kid to go in the ocean from that point on.
Well, the thing is, Shark Week isn't Shark Week without Jaws. Just like boxing isn't boxing without Rocky. You know what I mean? It's like these movies changed reality. So I love that pick. And you're right. I mean, you think about it, and Steven Spielberg's so incredibly smart to go, okay, you know what? I don't want this to look cheesy 40 years from now. So we're not going to show the shark that much. We're just going to, you know what I mean? We're just going to give you that. And I tell people all the time, and it's kind of ironic that we just talked about A Quiet Place, but take the music, take that like undertone of the music out of Friday the 13th. Take it out of Halloween, take it out of Jaws. The movies are not as scary.
No, nowhere near.
My number two. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
My number two is because I can watch 1 through whatever it is, like 9 now. I cannot believe, and I can't wrap my head around, and I just saw the preview too, Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson are going to be in the new one. Chris Rock is going to be fighting Jigsaw. Like, what? So now I have to say my number 2, Saw makes my number 2, but only the original trilogy. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Still to this day, and I know movies well enough, and I trust that you do too, very much so, that you and I both know that the man who had to cut his foot off from the ankle was the doctor who was considered a little bit Magoo to Jim Carrey in Liar Liar. He was the guy in Liar Liar that was the boyfriend of the ex-wife. And so, and I said from the beginning, best twist in the world is that doctor who cuts his foot off, who we never see again, comes back and he's working for Jigsaw. I waited multiple movies for that to be correct. I trust my prognostication, Tammy. I trust my ability to make that thought. And I'll tell you right now, if Tupac is alive, everything I ever prognosticated, like in a big way, would be right. So I got to put Saw in here because Saw changed the game for me. It brought me into a genre of movies that I normally don't watch because somehow I could just get past it because of the thought process. It was different. But in the third movie, when you kill the villain and then eventually you kill his leading apprentice, I didn't think you could ever move on from there. And they have very unsuccessfully moved on from there. So Chris Rock will get it done, but I can't take him seriously. So it was one of the greatest horror movie series ever created that screwed itself in the third movie.
Yes, and they did. But the first one, again, it was so well written, and so the conception of it, it was like Scream for me. Those two movies, Scream combining we're going to put a horror movie within a horror movie we're going to make fun of horror movies. Yeah. It was classic. And both of those for me were on a whole nother level cerebrally, outside of the horror. Whoever thought those concepts up, it transcended horror movies. Great writing, unbelievable writing. And so the first Saw for me was it. But funny enough, the guy who sews his foot off, he's going to make in a rom-com, he's going to make an appearance for me. And it just shows you his versatility. But in our rom-coms, he's going to come back and make an appearance for me. So good choice. Excellent. First Saw for me is one of my, again, that would be in my top probably 15. Hard top 10 I would have. But my number 1 scared me to death. And this is the one got in my head because it could happen to me. I was the age. again, it had to do with demons, the devil, possession. And to see it coming from a little girl on film, it was, and a lot of people didn't want this release. It was voodoo. And this is 19, we're talking 73. Now, I saw it when I was like 7 or 8, probably 8. I think I was in the 3rd grade. Okay. And it was, and then my mom would do some things like pretend she was like, literally, she scared the living bejesus out of me. I dreamt about the way she looked,
Yeah.
And the way she talked for a year. And not many people knew this. I would sneak in and sleep on the cold floor in the dead of winter because I would dream about her every night, and I would have horror nightmares. And my number 1 pick is the original Exorcist. And it, to this day, I'll put it on and to see her, and and I was her age. Yeah. Like, that could happen to me. And if you believe in God, you believe in yin and yang. And so I was scared to death that this could happen, that I could get possessed, or people could get possessed. And it was an ugly thing to watch a child battle the devil and possession. And it scared, religion at the time scared me to death anyway. And so, very scary movie for me. But The Exorcist lands at number 1. I'll never forget Reagan, ever. And I never ate pea soup from that day forward, ever again.
I could tell you that I know enough about the movie, and I've never seen it, and what I know makes me not want to ever see it. I am a firm believer in God, and I know that there's another side to that, and that both exist. I do believe in my heart of hearts that you have to be open to that world in order for that world to come in. I will never be open to that world. And it's horrifying. I've had dreams about stuff, all kinds of stuff, very vivid. And I love the fact that Chris.
But Dan, this is where demons and the devil, and they get you. As children, he masked himself as a friend.
Yeah.
And that would come in and talk, and they draw cartoons, and his name was Mr. Howdy. And they became friends, and that's how she let him in. So kids are naive. They don't know. And suddenly, here's mom going, what is going on with my daughter? Yeah. Mr. Howdy got in. And that's what made it so terrifying as a kid, was they can get that. They go after the innocent before you know any different. That was terrifying.
And we got a message here from Crystal, said, and I still refuse to watch this one. Andrea.
She won't. She won't. She'll leave the room.
No, listen, my buddy had surround sound, and I only know the movie through other people. I've never seen it. And the girl that actually played the role with the cross and stuff, she said if she knew what she was doing when she was doing it, she wouldn't have done it.
Linda Blair.
And so, I mean, it's like the surround sound when she walks down. And I can't do when people walk fast in a movie. I can't do like the fast, like the shutter. I can't do that. And I can't do when somebody's like walking on all fours. And they said when she walks down, he had the surround sound behind him, so you heard her. I can't. It crawls. So Andrea, who I brought up on the show before, is a huge scary movie fan. She said she can't even watch scary movies anymore, which is interesting. And then Melissa said The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, especially in the end. I did watch that movie, and that movie was friggin' weird as heck. I watched that. I rented that movie in a hotel, and I think I was by myself. Melissa also said Hellraiser. She couldn't even finish it. I couldn't even look at the cover to Hellraiser with all the thing. No.
That trilogy was pretty good too. Back in the day, it was scary. Pinhead was scary. It was a good horror trilogy.
My number 1 plays on a recent take of not showing you the villain as much. And it paints, like, I have a huge imagination. My imagination is a giant amusement park. It's always been big, and you got to use it for the right reasons, because if not, you dream of, when I'm asleep, I have those vivid Chucky dreams. So my imagination played with me, as it probably did with many people in this movie. To this day, I still picture that the alien I saw was so much worse than was actually on screen. And the movie still freaks me out in a suspenseful way, and it still gets me going. They showed the alien, I believe, twice in the entire movie, but the whole time your brain is telling you that this thing is the scariest thing in the world. And one of the times that they show that alien, and they really don't show it. They show it once. But when they show it the other time, it's a shadow. And there is a third time when they're at a birthday party, and it's a Spanish family's birthday party. And all I remember is a kid going, that today, he's outside. And he says it's Spanish.
Yeah.
And then he says it's outside. And it walks by and it stops on the news. And I was terrified as a kid that there was going to be a thing on the news where we were going to see a real alien. I'm getting tears in my eyes right now. And I was going to be like, if there's ever proof that it cannot be refuted, I'm gonna like, I'm inconsolable. And I remember when we went to Mars and there was like a CNN special, and all they did was just take a live shot of the planet. And I'm watching this thing for like 13 minutes, waiting for like a shadow or something to crawl by. I went outside to talk to my dad. And I remember being outside with my dad after dinner, and I said, Dad, I'm afraid of aliens. I'm terrified. Like, they can't be real. I said, Dad, are they real? Like, there's a thing in Mars. I can't look at it. They keep showing Mars. What are we going to do? And I'll never forget, my dad said to me, he goes, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. And it's not what a child needed to hear in that moment.
No.
So I can tell you that the movie that still gets me to this day for the It's Outside and the look up at the roof, that's so quick you miss it, is Signs. And M. Night Shyamalan, that man, whatever people think he is or isn't, that man's a freaking genius.
Genius. Again, before that, you know, I See Ghosts, Lady in the Water. I mean, he has such a mind. The one where the little community lives in the woods, and you think, oh my God, he's brilliant. But Signs, again, the use of how he shot the film and the anticipation of seeing the aliens, really, really good movie. But he is a genius. He was, again, just like the new genre of Get Out, and some of the just creativity alone is incredible. And sometimes it makes a movie, and Signs was one of those times. M. Night Shyamalan was amazing. That's a good choice. Very good. You have an alien. You do. You definitely have a little bit of a alien doll kind of. I got a suggestion, Dan. I want you to Google this. It's old. It was on TV. Okay. It's called Trilogy of Terror.
Okay.
And the third one in the trilogy is about this woman. She collects artifacts, and she collects one for her boyfriend, thinking he's going to love this. And it's a little Zimbabwean doll, right? This doll is scary as, I don't know, get up. And when I was little, this was on TV. This was released on TV. And he made the cover of the TV guide. You can Google it and go Trilogy of Terror, and you'll see the doll. And then it comes to life because she does something with her boyfriend. He can't go to dinner with her mom and throws it down, and the chain comes off it. And it says, do not remove this chain. And the doll comes to life. And it chases her around the apartment. It scared the bejesus out of me. Go ahead and watch the little clip on it. And you'll see, if you have it's my recommendation to you. And it's just this little cheesy movie on TV, but it was good, boy. And when you're little, this doll scared. It made me, no dolls in my room. I don't want a doll. I don't want anything. The Fonzie doll with the 2 thumbs up, and the J.J. Walker doll from Good Times, Sonny and Cher, that's the only dolls I had in my room. Other than that, this doll scared the living crap out of me. So you'll appreciate that. Go ahead and watch it. And then listen, next week we gotta continue this with dramas and rom-coms.
Yeah, we definitely do. So we're gonna hold off. We're gonna hold off on comedies. And I love this because Andrea wrote in, let's not blame just movies for our fear of aliens, unsolved mysteries. Yes, which I still can't watch. I can't do it. I'm not about it. But I can tell you with utter certainty that, some of these, I can't do the dolls. I cannot do that. I told people, if I ever have a daughter or son that wants a doll, whatever, if you buy them the thing, I will take you and the doll, and you will leave my house and you will never come back. And I had somebody buy a doll for somebody that I had dated way back when, and I told her, I said, leave the doll where you got it. Leave the doll at the hotel that we were at. Just leave it there. Because in my brain, I said, if you bring the doll to the house, the doll's going to have a blueprint of the house. They're going to know the address, and no matter where you put it, it's going to come back. If you break the head, the spirit goes into something else. I know the stuff.
We call it the Annabelle. We're not doing the Annabelle. Annabelle ain't coming here. Just like Chucky for the boys, Annabelle for the girls. We're not doing this. No Annabelles in this house.
I looked in the garage one day, and I go, the hell's this? And I said, I told you to throw it out. And I said, let me be honest with you. She didn't come in the house yet, so she doesn't know. So we break up. She comes to pick up her stuff. You can bet your butt that when she went to that mailbox, that thing was shoved in the mailbox. I was like, you need to take that and, just get it out of my house. It never came in my house, but I cannot do anything porcelain, ventriloquist, none of it. It's not a joke. It's not funny. I will end friendships over it. I will not do it. So with that being said, Tammi and I could only, I thought we were going to have, there's a monster. I could only imagine that this conversation was going to be what it is, and it went beyond. So the toughest list for me to make is romantic comedies, which I had about 15. We will save that for 2 weeks from now, and we'll see you in May. Tammi, thank you for all of this and the great conversation that pushed a part of it to another week.
And thank you for all the people that joined us. I love it that they throw some movies out and classics. But yeah, let's do rom-coms next 2 weeks from now, and then let's do gangster. Let's do real mob movies, anything to do with the mob, and let's do that. Let's do rom-com. Let's do top 10s of both.
Okay, fair enough. So
that way we don't have to 5 isn't enough, but 10 for each, that'll be good for us. And we'll go through quickly.
That coming from Tammi Reiss and myself, Dan Tortora. Great conversation as always. Feels like 5 minutes. So Tammi, thank you for the laughs and all the positivity, and I'll look forward to talking with you soon on Reiss's Pieces.
All right. Same to you, Dan. Have a great 2 weeks, and I can't wait for to talk.
All right, you too. And I can't wait to try to sleep tonight. So,
yeah. Good luck.
take care.
Good luck.
See ya.